Hello, good evening, everyone. I am Shah Zulfikar Ali, and welcome to this session. The session is about the career pathways in GPISH and STEP. Before we start the session, I would just like to ask you all that please अपने videos and अपने mics म्यूट पे रखिएगा, अपने वीडियोस ऑफ रखेंगे एंड ड्यूरिंग द सेशन आपको कुछ भी क्वेश्चंस हो या आपको पैनलिस्ट से कुछ भी क्वेश्चंस पूछने हो, प्लीज़ आप मिशाल जुल्फ़िकार अली मुझे आप questions send कर सकते हैं. With that, I think we can start the session. First of all, I'm Mishal Zulfikar Ali, and I am from the graduating batch of GPISH 2019. Currently, I'm working with Ahang as an associate consultant. I'll introduce my panelists, Ali Jafrani and Amir Ali Parpia. Amir Ali is from the graduating batch of GPISH 2015. He has completed his undergraduate education in anthropology from LUMS and Waseda University in Japan. He did his master's degree, the second year master's degree during IIS program at London School of Economics, and the degree was in social policy and development. He was working in the international development sector in Pakistan. He has started his career at Aga Khan Agency for Habitat and worked as a program manager of development over there. And then he is right now working at AKU as manager bilateral and multilateral relations for Pakistan and Afghanistan. Moving on to Ali Jafrani. Ali Jafrani is a traveler, educator, and a youth counselor. He's been involved in the education domain for past 10 years. He has also been involved in community relations in Pakistan, Kenya, and United Kingdom. Ali Jafrani designed and executed the English language and support program for communities of Gilgit, Baltistan, and Chitral. He is from the graduating batch of Secondary Teacher Education Program 2018. He is working as the STEP teacher currently. He did his master's in Muslim civilizations in education. This is MA in education, and his second master's was in MTeach, Masters of Training from University College London. I would like to introduce them both on as the panelists now. Before we continue with our session, I would just like to give a very brief introduction on STEP and GPISH. STEP is a 2-year program which has a first master's degree, Masters of Arts, in Muslim Societies and Civilization from SOAS University of London. The second postgraduate program is in Teaching and Reflective Practice from UCL. At the same time, GPISH is also a double degree program, which has 3 years. For the first 2 years, we are doing a master's MA in Islamic Studies and Humanities, which is designed and delivered by IIS, but is validated by SOAS University in London. The third year master's program is of the student's choice at any university in UK. The selection and the criteria for this particular master's program will be discussed later during the session by Amir Ali. So moving forward with this session, Ali and Amir Ali, welcome on board. The first question will be directed to Ali Jafrani. Ali, आपको क्या लगता है किस तरह के बच्चे and किस तरह के students apply for STEP? What is the profile of students who appear as a candidate for STEP?
Thank you, Michelle, for that very warm introduction, and happy to be here and to speak to such a large audience. So as far as your question is concerned, कि step में कौन से लोग आ रहे होते हैं और कौन से background से लोग apply कर रहे होते हैं. Although it is a teaching related profession, हमारे पास काफ़ी सारे participants वो आ रहे होते हैं जिनका background in teaching होता है. So उनका शायद bachelor's in education होगा या some background in education. That's one part of the participants. But हमारे पास majorly ऐसे participants आते हैं जिनका background teaching से नहीं होता. So take my example. I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering and I shifted my careers to STEP, right? So it is not necessary कि आपका background जो है वो education के अंदर होगा, then only you can apply for STEP. We have a large chunk of people who do not have that background, but they still apply. However, there's one common thing जो सब participants can होती, that's their yearning, that's their desire to teach and specifically teach RE in community based schools, right? ये specific desire होती है जो bind करती है, but the background is valid, right? So yeah, Michelle, you're on mute.
Thank you. Moving on with your question. Amir Ali, what do you think? किस तरह के profile होती है students की who become a candidate, a good candidate for GPISH? And किस तरह के profile के students या किस तरह के educational background के students can apply for GPISH?
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for the warm introduction and welcome all for this very important session. Um, I think, as you mentioned earlier, GPISH is not the profile of students who actually apply for GPISH comes from a very multiple a very diverse sort of a background. लेकिन एक चीज common होती है, which is their desire to study social sciences or humanities, and within that framework, a more interested approach towards understanding Muslim societies या फिर Islamic studies. And when I say Islamic studies, the thing that separates GPISH from many of the other programs that we know of which focus on Islamic studies is to move beyond theology, या फिर the traditional understanding of religion, and to understand Islam from a very interdisciplinary perspective. This would include art, this would include architecture, this would include history, this would include gender, education, economics, multiple other things. So this is what is the background of people who come here. And the other thing that is important to know here is कि जो भी लोग apply करते हैं for the GPISH program, they have they need to have an open mindset to be able to digest opinions which may be different from ours. As Ali mentioned, this is an international program. So the profile of a student who wants to apply to GPISH would automatically need to be open-minded to be able to accept multiple perceptions, to think of Islam beyond the traditional perspective. And then once you do that, it opens up a very broad spectrum of career options for you.
Okay. Amirali, thank you for explaining it so well. जिस तरह से आपने बताया कि there are different, it is a interdisciplinary program and various projects or prospects can be a part, can result in after completing GPISH. तो आपको क्या लगता है कि किसी भी background का student with any profile can be a good applicant for GPISH? Can they apply for, or do you have to have a particular educational background to be part of GPISH or to apply for GPISH or to be eligible?
That is a very important question, and one question that most people who plan or aspire to apply to GPISH. The short answer is people from any background can apply. अगर आपका social sciences में background है तो भी आप apply कर सकते हो. अगर आपका social science में background नहीं है तो भी आप apply कर सकते हो. But what is important to consider here are two things. One, अगर आपका social science में background है, it will give you an added advantage क्योंकि ये program है ही based around social sciences and humanities. And two, you have to have interest to actually pursue social sciences. अगर आपका background है या नहीं है, if you do not feel for that area, अगर आपको वो critical perspective नहीं पसंद है, then this program is not for you. If अगर आपको perspective पसंद है, तो we have numerous examples उन लोगों की जिनका social science में बिल्कुल भी background नहीं था. They came from background of, even in my cohort, backgrounds in IT, in media and communication, which is partially social sciences, even backgrounds of finance, and they made it good. And they excelled in the program. So what matters is perhaps not mostly your background, but your interest towards that program.
Okay, I think this summarizes the question really, really well. Moving on with my second question. Ali, what do you think किस तरह की opportunities होती हैं during and post step? So post हम लोग बाद में लेते हैं. What do you think during step आपको किस तरह की opportunities available होती हैं? किस तरह से आप grow कर सकते हैं and broaden your horizon?
So Michelle, as you've mentioned in your introduction, this program is a joint initiative of 3 different institutions. So we have Institute of Smiley Studies, we have SWAS, and we have UCL. From SWAS, we get MA in Muslim Societies and Civilizations. and from UCL we get a postgraduate diploma in teaching and reflective practice. Now because in तीन बहुत ही बड़े institutions का mixture है, we get an amazing faculty, right? So first चीज जो मुझे बहुत अच्छी लगती है उस program के कि you get a mixture of three amazing faculties जो generally किसी भी program में apply करते हो, so generally you tend to get only exposure to only one type of faculty. So faculty is one. The second would be the range of teaching opportunities. So because they are the committee is very much conscious that all the participants के पास शायद ना हो teaching का background. That's why we get a rigorous amount of teaching practice there. And how do we do that? We do that in three ways. The first is RECs in UK are called BUI or Betolil. So वहाँ पे जो UK की RECs है वहाँ पे teach करने का मौका मिलता है, and that is every weekend. The second is the mainstream schools. So the secular schools we have here in Pakistan over there are called mainstream schools. So you actually go there and teach in a secular school context. And one may ask, what subjects do you teach? And the subjects are diverse, right? I was teaching RE there, and RE would include Christianity, RE would include Judaism, RE would include Islam. Some of my cohort members were teaching literature. Some of them were teaching mathematics, right? So there's a range of practice that you can have with different subjects. However, that is all mentored by practitioners from UCL. So आपको mentoring पूरी मिलती है, and आपको in-class mentoring भी मिलती है, pre-class भी, and then post-class reflections as well. And the third kind of teaching experience is when during your second year आपको वापस home आना, अपने home country आना होता है, depending आप कहीं से भी हो, and वहाँ पर you have to teach for a couple of months, let's say 2 to 3 months, right? So it's a home-based teaching experience because कि जब आपका induction in the field हो, that is very smooth, right? So there are three types of teaching experience. Then there's a research part, and this research part is in your second year when you come back to your home country. तो आप एक छोटी सी research conduct करते हो for your MA as well and for your PG-DIP as well. One of them is a desk-based research. One of them is actually going in the field and experimenting with something. And I think the fourth thing would be the component जो मुझे लगता है वहाँ पे काफी ज़्यादा interesting है. That's of experiential learning. It's not just कि आपको books से knowledge हासिल मिल करें. So because we are teaching about Muslim societies and civilizations, there's a trip organized, there's an educational trip organized for STEP students in their first year and for GPISH students in their second year to Andalusia in Spain, right? जहाँ पे Muslims ने rule किया था, ताकि जो हम books में पढ़ रहे हैं वो हम actually witness कर सके. And that is an amazing experience, right? Like you go there, you actually, like what you're reading in books, you can actually see that over there. And I think that gives you a whole lot of worldview and perspective as well. And the last thing I would mention, and for me, I think this is the most important of all the things I've mentioned, is studying with that diverse cohort, right? It is very rare to find a program just under you have smiley Muslim students from all around the world, and you're living together and you're studying together as well. So I think what diversity से जितना आप सीखते हो, so the program itself is very enriching, but I think what you learn from each other, especially coming from backgrounds, like amazing backgrounds, that I think is a very good learning opportunity. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Ali, and I totally agree with your experience and your opinions. Amir Ali, if I would direct the same question to you, what is the experience like during GPISH? What are the opportunities that you have come across or your cohort members have come across during GPISH?
Thank you, Mishra. I think similar to STEP, GPISH is perhaps one of the best life-altering experiences. It teaches you multiple things, and especially soft skills. जो आप in an academic setting करते हो, but actually they prepare you for a career. And let me try to explain you how, based on my own experiences. I think starting with the first things first, the diversity of the cohort. मेरे cohort में there were 11 people coming from 8 different nationalities. So you are bound to be introduced to multiple perspectives जो शायद आपके लिए बहुत नए हो. वो जवाब जो आपके लिए binaries होते हैं, like the perspective of gender, music, anything in Islam जो हमारे लिए बड़े binaries होते हैं, especially when we live in Pakistan, all these get questioned, and this is your first cultural shock that introduces you to diversity of perspective, which allows you to think critically and to make decisions based on the perspectives of others. And when I say diversity, it's not just in the classroom, as Ali mentioned. चूंकि आप उस cohort के साथ practically पढ़ते भी हो, रहते भी हो, घूमते भी हो, you actually have a glimpse of the lived experience of Muslims as they live in their own cultural surroundings and how they come together to be one. So एक तो ये. दूसरा आपकी faculty. So as Ali mentioned, I think 5 years ago when I was a student, and perhaps now also, and even better now, we had faculty from Oxford, we had faculty from Cambridge, UCL, and this strength of faculty who are not necessarily from the community, but even outside the community, the best in their field, they allow you and they introduce you to understand Muslim societies from a very diverse perspective. Uh, the third thing is linguistics. In GPISH, you are mandatory to study one language, most probably Arabic or Persian. And it's not just studying it for a year or 2 years. You actually have a 4 to 6 week language immersion program. When I was there, it was in Tunisia. And basically what you do is you, for a month or 1.5 months, you actually live in that society. You practically speak that language, you live that language. So it's not just linguistics as a institute that we have here in Pakistan, but actually living a language. That is a priority. And once you do that, you can relate how classical texts work, and you actually are interested to study that. The other thing is, चूंकि ये एक research oriented program, it prepares you to have critical insights on what you say. इनफैक्ट जब आप ये प्रोग्राम करते हैं तो आपको ये करियर में इस तरह हेल्प करता है कि it it prepares you to be able to know what you are saying. You can't just say anything. It has to be evidence based. और ये आता क्यों है? Because there is such a strong focus on research, and it's just not research classes. You actually spend between 1 to 2 months in a field site. For example, I spent it in East Africa, where it was a primary research, and my cohort mates went all around the world. Some went to Canada, some went to Portugal, some went to Central Asia. And there was a proper research program where you engage with primary and secondary literature, and that prepares you for a career, especially if you want to go into academics or international development, which is about field work. Um, and then lastly, which is perhaps one of the most important components of the program, is जब आपके वो 2 साल complete हो जाते हैं, so you enter into a third year, which is a master's program in any university in UK. And what basically happens is, as I mentioned earlier, GPISH का जो experience होता है, ये एक all-rounded experience होता है. ये आपको multiple subjects, multiple thematic areas पढ़ाता है, and plus उसके integration पढ़ाता है, how each subject is related to the other. In the third year, based on whatever you have learned in the 2 years, plus your background academic knowledge, you choose कि अब मुझे specialization किस thematic area में करनी है. And while you step out of the IIS, you go to a UK university. It just gives you a very different flavor because you stay connected to the IIS. There is a very strong support system. Zahir agar 10 से 15 बच्चे cohort में, you get individualized attention, but you also get to study in a premier institute, specialize in one thematic area. And even when you are doing that, and I may be bragging, but even when you are doing that in the third year, since you are coming from a Japanese background where you have studied interdisciplinary everything, you can contribute much better in a class. And that is what I felt from my experiences. So overall, while it's an academic program, it's a degree program, all those 3 years, everything is planned in a way that prepares you for a superlative career once you step out of the IIS.
Thank you so much, Amirali, for such a detailed understanding to how GPISH has given or offered you opportunities and what was your experience like. And I can tell that it was a very rich experience. Same for Ali, same for Amirali, same for me. Now that opportunities have been taken care of during the time, what happens after your degree? What happens after you complete GPISH, after you complete STEP? What is the next step? Amirali, would you like to go first? Or should I start it? Amirali, yeah, thank you.
Your wish. I can go first if you want. Okay. So once you step out of IIS, the career trajectory of a GPISH graduate versus a STEP graduate are extremely different. So let's start with GPISH. What it does, because it has prepared you for a very diverse range of careers, your career basically depends on your own choice, and especially on what you have specialized in your third year. So for example, just to give you an example, कि third year में students क्या क्या पढ़ते हैं, because that is one question जो अक्सर पूछा जाता है. There is a wide range of subjects as long as they are connected to the betterment of Muslim societies or to humanities and social sciences. For example, some people conduct academic studies because they want to pursue their PhD. Others study education. Others, like me, study international development. Some study health. Some study media. there is a diverse range of careers in the third year, and उसके बाद जब आप अपने graduate studies के बाहर निकलते हो, most people pursue the career जो उनकी third year की specialization है. But when we see के कौन सा career आपको लेना है, some of the examples that we have, even अगर हम last 5 years का ये एक broad perspective लें, people I know of, we have people who have gone into the government sector, working with the government. We have people who have gone into the private sector, even the consulting sector, because what is consulting? Consulting basically is problem solving and thinking from a diverse perspective, and that is what GPISHers can do. Many people have gone into the civil society. And when I say civil society, if we break it up, we have the Aga Khan Development Network, which is now open to multiple career opportunities and even for early career opportunities, जो पहले शायद उस हद तक नहीं था. Many people go into Jamaati institutions like the National Council या फिर ITRAB, and also other development organizations. So एक over-rounded लोगों के पास एक opportunity होती है. And of course, as I mentioned, some people based on their third year go on to pursue their PhD. So it basically, what GPISH does, it's allows you to excel in whatever field you want to do by giving you some soft skills. And let's try to understand what these soft skills are, because these soft skills are something that allows you to pursue any career as long as you're interested in it. First, आपके पास रिसर्च एंड एनालिसिस स्किल आ गई होती है, बिकॉज आपने फील्ड वर्क भी क्या होता है, आपने फील्ड वर्क के कोर्सेज भी पढ़े होते हैं. इससे फायदा क्या होता है? यू आर एबल टू मेक इन्फॉर्म्ड डिसीजंस, व्हिच इज इंपॉर्टेंट इन एनी करियर यू गो टू. Second, you are taught to do critical analysis. इससे फायदा क्या होता है? You are able to solve complex problems, think out of the box, bring out innovative solutions, which is again important in any career you go to, whether it's the public, private, or civil society. And third, it gives you an interdisciplinary perspective. जब भी आप कोई एक assignment करते हो या फिर एक program design करते हो या उसको implement करते हो, you are able to think of multiple perspectives. And that again is a value जो आपको career progression में help करता है. Fourth, चूंकि ये प्रोग्राम सेंटर्ड है ऑन मुस्लिम सोसाइटीज, अगर आप एक मुस्लिम सोसाइटी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में काम कर रहे हैं, इट जस्ट एड्स टू योर पर्सपेक्टिव, बिकॉज देन यू नो द हिस्टोरिकल डिस्कोर्स, you know the contemporary developments, and you know how each Muslim society has evolved and is different and unique in its own sense. So it just allows you and adds to your experience when you pursue any career you want based on your third year degree.
Okay, that makes sense. Ali, what do you think? What can you tell us and enlighten us about what happens after STEP?
So this is STEP career progression is very much different than GPISH. So as for GPISH, you have a range of career options कि आप directly जा सकते हो. For STEP, this is a bit different. So जैसे आप STEP के लिए जा रहे हो तो you have to sign a contract that when you come back right after IAS, आपकी जब 2 साल की डिग्री खत्म हो जाती है, there's a contract bound agreement of 3 years. You have to serve in your home country for 3 years, teaching STEP to religious education centers. So you have to teach the IAS secondary curriculum to RECs, and in this case in Pakistan for 3 years. So there's a fixed career which is right after GPISH, right after STEP, right after those 2 years, you have a fixed job जो आपको करनी है when you come back to your home. Other than that, and it's not just the daily job routines or daily teaching जो आप कर रहे होते हो, there are a couple of learning opportunities as well. So एक तो आपके जो आपने जैसे like Amir Ali was saying, you have built such a strong network with your peers, with your faculty at the institute. तो एक तो वो पूरा आपका domain चल रहा होता है. इसके अलावा there are a couple of formal opportunities as well. So we have continuous professional development called CPDs. So कोई भी अगर IAS की curriculum की new module कोई भी release होता है, it can either be on that or it can either be on some teaching or pedagogy related course जो आप CPD offer होते हैं. Then there are short courses as well जो IAS offer करते हैं, which are again open for the Jamaat as well, and people from like alumni can also participate in that. And then there's alumni meeting, and this is shared by GPISH and STEP, जहाँ पे हर chapter group meets somewhere. Like I remember that last year it was in Tajikistan, that all like पूरे Asia chapter के सारे GPISH और STEP grads जो हैं वो वहाँ पे जाके मिले थे. And again, this is again a rich experience, right? It's interesting to see कि even after job, like even after जब IAS आपको वो चले जाते खैर बात कह देते हैं आपको, लेकिन still this content, the relationship continues, the learning opportunity still continue, and still it is an experiential learning opportunity. It's not just कि कोई lecture दे रहा है या कुछ, but you actually live through that. So these are some of the things जो हम कर सकते हैं immediately after you graduate from STEP.
Okay, that was really helpful for understanding how GPISH and STEP work, what happens after we get done with STEP and GPISH. Now moving on to my fourth question. Ali, I would direct this question towards you. Um, what happens after you become a mid-career professional? What is the situation like? What is the valuation of STEP or GPISH to our career aspirations? And I would like you to answer for STEP.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. And I think this is a very important question, which I've been asked so many times जब भी हम लोग step को introduce करने जा रहे थे. And this is a very valid question as well. So the interesting thing, which can be seen as an opportunity in many, many ways, and maybe for some it may not be, but for many ways it's an opportunity that there's no predefined path. You have to create your own path, right? On how do you go about after completing your 3 years ka contract. So what I'm going to share is कि previously step teachers ने क्या किया, जिन्होंने 3 years अपने complete कर लिए, उन्होंने क्या किया, तो उनके experience I can share some of those. So एक जो आपके पास opportunity होती है, depending on your performance, on how you've performed during those 3 years, you can get promoted to let's say mentors or teacher leads, and these are positions in the step department which are specifically designed कि आप बाकी new teachers को mentor कर सकें, right? So एक वो it's a longitudinal growth वैसे हो जाती है आपकी, and then after that if you want, there are positions for academic director as well, and then there's horizontal growth opportunities as well. You want to specialize on in some part of the curriculum, you can do that as well, or some form of teaching pedagogy or teaching related stuff. Then the other opportunity, which is very interesting, is moving to other steps in the region. So because STEP is such a global program, currently operating in many countries where the Jamaat is living, so हमारे पास काफी frequent वहाँ से job opportunities आ रही होती हैं, either as secondment or either as professional jobs, where you can move to other steps and teach there. And trust me, it seems like we are teaching the same curriculum in one context, but even when I teach the same curriculum in, let's say, Hunza, the context, the curriculum, everything changes, right? And that is an interesting opportunity as well. And the third would be you can move to other Jamaati institutions as well. So you can move to National Council, you can move to AKEB'P, other Jamaati institutions, or you can move to AKDN institutions, possibly academies, possibly UCA, AKES. Then some of the teachers opted to go out and teach in universities and in private education. So either आप teaching वाले उसमें जाना चाहते हो या curriculum development के अंदर आप जाना चाहते हैं, लेकिन government या private institutions के अंदर there's a chance. Then there are some teachers who move for PhDs to continue their higher education. Some chose to do another master's as well. And I think the last opportunity is जो लोगों ने क्या है, some of them have moved to IIS and they've taught, they are teaching step teachers right now who are there in training. Right? So there's this range of options which you can do after you complete your 3 years contract.
Thank you, Ali. Amir Ali, can you explain us how what happens when you are a mid-career professional after GPISH?
Thank you, Michelle. So I think it's very clear now. Okay, unlike STEP, जहाँ आपके पास एक 3 साल का bond होता है, GPISH में you are free to pursue any career you want based on your experiences. So when you come to a mid-career, there are multiple options, and let's break it down. चूंकि आपके अंदर spirit of inquiry तो होती है. So there are many people who pursue their PhDs based on their working experience. They have decided what they want to do, what they are interested in. They want to do further research or studies on it. They pursue their PhDs, and GPISH allows them because one, they have their interdisciplinary perspective. They now have working experience, and now they pursue their PhDs. The second category of people are those who pursue managerial or senior management roles at the AKDN. And we now have examples of seniors of mine who are working in Pakistan, in the regional, and even at the global level, leading AKDN agencies or certain programs of the AKDN. And they are doing amazing because they bring that background, that rich background of understanding of Muslim societies. They don't have to adjust because they know the diversity that goes on with their job. Similar for the Jamaati institutions, we have people who studied GPISH, and now they are able to have a managerial career in Jamaati institutions like AKEB'P and the National Council. And तीसरी category उन लोगों की होती है जो who do not want to pursue their PhD, who do not want to work in AKDN and Jamaati institutions and pursue a career elsewhere, and they go on as is. जिस तरह से वो जब graduate होते हैं, वो अपने careers में excel कर रहे होते हैं, and that 2 years empower them to proceed more. इसको देखने के दो तरीके हैं, मिशाल. यूजली जब हम जॉब्स पे अप्लाई करते हैं मिड कैरियर, तो अक्सर आपके पास एक रिक्वायरमेंट होती है कि यार यू शुड हैव एटलीस्ट 5 years एक्सपीरियंस एंड यू शुड हैव एटलीस्ट 4 years एक्सपीरियंस। और आजकल तो हर चीज इतनी मैकेनिकल हो गई है कि अगर आपने उसमें नो कर दिया तो आप इतना मुश्किल से आपने कवर लेटर पढ़ा है वो भी नहीं देखेंगे। देयर आर टू वेज ऑफ लुकिंग एट इट। एक आप ये देख सकते हो कि यार मैंने लाइक अगर विद माय कोहॉर्ट मेट्स जिन लोगों ने मेरे साथ अंडर ग्रेजुएट किया था, उन उन उन्होंने तो 2 साल का ज्यादा एक्सपीरियंस लेना है, क्योंकि मैंने तो 2 साल की है, मैंने एडिशनल स्टडी की। तो ऑफ कोर्स मेरा जो वर्क एक्सपीरियंस है उनसे 2 या 3 साल कम है। एक तरीका देखने का ये है कि यार दे आर नाउ मोर एक्सपीरियंस, दे कैन परस्यू अपॉर्चुनिटीज दैट आई कांट। दूसरा तरीका ये है कि जितना मेरे पास वर्क एक्सपीरियंस है उसके साथ मेरे पास जो एक एकेडमिक स्किल है, दो सॉफ्ट स्किल्स, दिस एबिलिटी टू मेक डिसीजंस इन क्रिटिकल सिचुएशन, अंडरस्टैंडिंग द डाइवर्सिटी, being able to think outside the box, that is just an add-on. And no matter what career you pursue, that skill stays with you. Of course you have to harness it, like, and that skills stays with you, and therefore we see success stories of so many GPISH alumni who have excelled in their field regardless of wherever they go. So, in short, I think this program empowers you to pursue any career you want by just bringing out the best in you, especially from a perspective of social sciences and soft skills.
Okay, that is really, really, really helpful. I think this covers the main questions that we had to cater to regarding the career prospects for GPISH in STEP. I would like to now move towards the question answer session. So Amir Ali and Ali, you both can answer simultaneously on however this works. It's a very interesting question. Someone has asked how much weightage is given to extracurricular activities or leadership skills for when you're applying for GPISH. Amir Ali, would you like to answer to that?
It's a tough question. ये हमें admissions committee से पूछना पड़ेगा because they never told me the criteria. लेकिन I would say it does count, and the reason I say this, so primarily, let's be very clear, primarily what counts is your interest and ability to study or desire to study social sciences. This is the topmost priority, right? आप एक academic essay भी देते हैं. I think यहाँ पे एक सवाल भी आया था कि academic essay देना होता है. So you give an academic essay which also tells about your ability. Extracurricular activities will count if you are able to demonstrate how that particular activity allowed you to contribute positively to the society. Because अगर हम एक broad perspective लें, so why was the GPISH program created, या फिर why has it sustained so long? Because in some way or the other, it is creating that cadre of intellectuals या फिर ambassadors who are able to go back and contribute positively to the society. So अगर आप अपने admission में ये demonstrate कर सको कि you already have that interest and you have contributed to society through your extracurricular activities, I think that is an add-on. I'm not sure extracurricular activities अगर sports और ये सब हो तो वो किस तरह से contribute करती हैं, but if it has a positive social contribution and you're able to demonstrate that in your personal statement, I think it can add value.
Ali, I think you would have the similar kind of answer like Amir Ali if there's requirement for showing off your leadership or your curricular activities.
Yeah. So as Amir Ali said very rightly, so okay, the application form is very much detailed, right? And कोई भी चीज़ हम जब भी application process में जा रहे होते तो हम हर चीज़ जो मैंने जिंदगी में किया, अगर मैं क्लास 1 में क़ैरत कंपटीशन में फर्स्ट आया था वो मैं रख रहा हूँ वहाँ पे, तो उसका it may not directly contribute to how am I going to be a better teacher when I come back, right? तो जो भी चीज़ हम डाल रहे हैं उसको हम जस्टिफाई कर सकें कि हम ये क्यों डालें, किस तरह से मेरी ग्रोथ में किसी ने हेल्प किया, right? So yeah, if you are, and as Amir Ali said, these are very important things in your life to have those leadership positions, that it gives you those lenses to work with those teams and get to know yourself in a much more better light, but you have to bring that all out in your personal statement as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ali and Amir Ali. There are certain questions which are catering towards the fact that what is the application process like and the interview process. So if you can just briefly highlight that. STEP का different procedure है for applications and GPISH का different है. So Ali, if you would like to take the lead and just give us brief understanding of your application process.
So the application process is long, right? Because it's a scholarship program, and they want to be very certain that they are choosing the right candidate. It is a long process. So let's say the process would the first stage of the process is submitting your application form. Right? When I say submitting your application form, it means that you have to submit your transcripts. It means that you have to submit your English language tests, which means because हम लोग पाकिस्तान से belong करते तो both for GPISH and for STEP it is required that you take an English language proficiency test. It can be IELTS, it can be UKV IELTS, and for this pandemic period they've introduced TOEFL as well. मैंने एक दो और भी test है, and the information is there on the website which Michelle will share later. Prospectus के अंदर उसको detail में उनको बताया गया. So that you have to submit that. You have to submit a personal statement, and you need to have 1 year of RE teaching experience. That is necessary. At least 1 year of RE teaching experience. Even though if you do not have any secular teaching experience, you need to have an RE teaching experience. And once you submit all of that, for that application process. So for example, for this year, the deadline is October 21st, 2020. When you submit all of that, there's a shortlisting review hota hai. If you have submitted all the documents, if you have the required IELTS score, if your personal statement is up to the mark, if that happens, you get a shortlisting of certain candidates. Now those candidates have to go through a teaching practicum. So they have to teach for, let's say, a total of 12 classes in RE, which would be mentored by a step teacher or an ITRAP designated person in your own region. और वो आपको guide भी करेंगे, आपको mentor भी करेंगे, but there's a practicum, teaching practicum process which happens. After that teaching practicum process, there's a qualifying essay round. In which you'll be given a question, essay question, you'll be given an article to read पहले से, and because STEP and GPISH both are very highly academic programs, तो उसमें आपको लिखना बहुत ज़्यादा पड़ता है, and because वो लिखना बहुत ज़्यादा पड़ता है और हमारे पास generally हमारी habit of reading जो होती है वो academic की इतनी ज़्यादा नहीं होती, तो and our writing style is generally not that academic, तो वो उसको target करने के लिए. Once that happens, then there is a teaching learning journey. So आपने जो 12 classes में पढ़ाया होता है उसमें anything which you've encountered and you've learned, उस पे आपको एक छोटी सी presentation देनी होती है, not more than 5-7 minutes, in front of the jury. और उसके बाद the final stage is the interview. So there are a couple of steps. So it starts with the application process, then there's a shortlisting which happens, you get the teaching practicum. After teaching practicum, there's a qualifying essay. After qualifying essay, there's a presentation, and then there's the interview. So this all takes around, let's say, 9 months or so to finish. And then the final listing would be there.
Okay, thank you, Ali. मेरे लिए आप briefly बता सकते हो interview and application process?
Sure. So it's a very detailed application, as Ali mentioned, but I will keep it this short. You start with the application, which I think is to be submitted around December or January. The heart or the core of your application is your personal statement. Those 750 words basically make or break your opportunity or your chance to get into the program or not. But uske saath saath you tell about your academic credentials. You also have to submit a sample of your academic of your essay, because basically they want to understand your ability to write academic writing is tarah ki hai, especially around social sciences, your ability to critique. Once you submit that, the first shortlisting happens, और उसके बाद there is a written test. ये written test क्यों होता है? Simply again to see your ability to make a logical argument, support it, and then also critique it. उस written test के बाद और shortlisting होती है, and finally there is an interview of a 30 or 40-minute interview, which is directly held with the admissions committee and administered by them. And once that happens, you hopefully get a call for the program. Usually it takes around 5 months. I remember for me it was 5 months, starting in January and ending it in the first week of May. So usually 5 months, I think smaller than a STEP application, but 3 stages.
Correct. That makes sense. So there are certain questions which are discussing and are asking for if any bachelor's degree, engineering, science, education background in bachelor's are applicable or are eligible to apply for GPISH or STEP. So yes, this is outright straightforward that yes, आप किसी भी background से हैं, आपने किसी भी degree के अंदर bachelor's किया हुआ है, you are eligible to apply for GPISH or STEP. However, you need to make your case really strong as of how and why are you interested in this program? What do you plan on doing after the program for GPISH? And then step के अंदर ये है कि are you interested in working with ITRA for next 3 years and teaching RE students? But I think there is some kind of questions which stays question, and I'm receiving a lot of questions regarding the fact that अगर for instance हमारा background science के अंदर है, और अगर हम GPISH करते हैं तो उसके बाद career prospects क्या होंगे? Can I continue as an engineering student? Can I continue as a nursing student? How does it change? So I think they need a little more specific example of what exactly happens if they are from finance background and doing GPISH, and what career prospects can be part of it. So Amirali, can you answer this question?
Sure. So this is a very important question, and many people have this question. Uh, Whoever has this question, I would just invite everyone to take a step back and to reflect why is it that they want to pursue GPISH in the first place. If you, let's say, come from an engineering background or a finance background, and you wish to pursue a rigorous academic humanities and social sciences program in Islamic studies, you want to do a third year in the same aspect, and you wish to go back into, let's say, finance or engineering. Reflect why would you want to invest 3 years in that specific area. अगर तो आपका interest है in understanding Islamic societies, there are short courses that IIS does. There are multiple other forums too. So it's important to reflect why GPISH. And if after reflection you feel कि नहीं यार ये program फिर भी मेरे लिए important है, then of course there are examples of people who graduated from GPISH and went back into hard sciences areas like engineering, like finance, because the soft skills that you learn, as I mentioned earlier, वो आपको किसी भी career में help करती है. But चूंकि ये 3 साल है and we all know the value of time, it is important to reflect why GPISH, because it needs to add to your long-term career aspirations. And in most cases, chunki it's an academic program or a social sciences program, it's important to align your career goals with it if you really want to make a strong case. But I mean, there are examples of otherwise cases also.
Okay. Thank you, Amirali. Ali, there is a question directed towards you. So this individual has 11 years of teaching experience, but only 1 month of teaching experience in REC. Is this candidate eligible to apply for STEP or GPISH?
So this is a difficult question to answer, and this would be a case-by-case examination as well, जो इतना करेगा. But the first answer would be no. And हमारे पास काफी सारे ऐसे candidates इस बार भी आए थे, and unfortunately because of the pandemic हमारी RECs जो वो close हो गई थी, तो they couldn't teach, right? And although they had experience of secular teaching, teaching in RE is very much different than teaching in secular setups, right? So IAS really wants to know how is your competence level, how do you enjoy your teaching with RE kids, and especially the material is very interesting as well, very much different than what we normally encounter in our schools. So I would suggest that it would depend on case by case basis as well, but generally it would be we won't be encouraging people to apply if they don't have even a year of RE teaching experience. And RE teaching can also mean that you can include camp based experience if you work with वो सब भी हम RE के अंदर count हो सकता है. So that's why I'm saying it's a case by case examination, but generally you need 1 year of RE experience teaching. And Michelle, just to add on your previous point with different careers, Wale, and if somebody has questions regarding STEP as well, your different and as you've rightly mentioned in the interview, they really ask you why are you switching your careers? Because career switch is a difficult thing to do in one's life. So you need to be sure that whatever you're doing next possibly may fit in your wider career domains or it may not, but you need to convince them on why you're switching careers, right? ऐसा क्या हुआ अचानक से जिंदगी के अंदर कि आपने decide किया one good morning कि मैं आज उठ के step या GPISH करूँ, right? You have to tell them that it's a gradual process, right? आप एक दिन सुबह उठ के नहीं decide कर रहे हो. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Ali. And this is rightly said that, you need to justify your case. Even if you are from social sciences background, you need to justify your case. And I think IS is very particular about it, that aapka case strong hai, are you actually interested or not? There's another question regarding the age restriction. So any age student can apply for GPISH, even if you have completed your master's program or bachelor's degree 5 years, 10 years before. And if you're working right now and if you're still interested in applying for GPISH and studying at IIS for 3 years, you are allowed to apply. You can be as young as a graduate from bachelor's or as old as you want to be. So I think that's not a condition. There are also certain questions regarding the application form, IELTS, the band score and everything. On the website, on the IIS website, you can find all the details regarding the application process, including your personal statement, your reference letters, IELTS score, etc. As Ali has already mentioned, कि या इस time क्योंकि pandemic है, इन्होंने थोड़ी सी conditions change की भी है, TOEFL, IELTS, ये सब इन्होंने accept किया है. However, you can find a lot of details on the website. Again, regarding the deadline, GPISH के लिए it's 21st of October, whereas STEP के लिए is 21st of October, and GPISH के लिए it's going to be in the last week of December or first week of January. So all the other details can be found online. There's a very interesting question which I would like to ask both of you. So would you like to suggest any books or any reading material or some writing habits which can be used or adopted at this particular stage and can be utilized later? So Amir Ali and Ali, whoever wants to go first.
Ali, you start.
Okay. So before I go into that question, Michelle, I think जिसने participant ने पूछा था of the IELTS score. So a very quick response would be, you need to get, at least for STEP, I'm not that much sure about GPISH, you need to check, but at least for STEP, you need at least more than 6.5 overall. And किसी भी particular listening, writing, reading में आपको 5.5 से below, like 6 से below नहीं आना चाहिए. If it's a 5.5, you cannot apply, right? So you need a good score in all of those components. Just wanted to throw that. Regarding your question of reading, and this is an interesting question because this is a question which I believe हर interviewer IAS से जो भी आते हैं हमारे पास interview लेने के लिए वो ये question पूछते हैं, whether that person is in Pakistan, whether that person is in the US, that question gets asked. कि आपकी reading habit कितनी है? So अगर हम reading habits की बात करें तो it is good to read books like fiction, like Harry Potter हो गई या Lord of the Rings हो गई. Yeah, that is good because it develops your reading habit. But I think the kind of books or kind of articles वो लोग देख रहे होते हैं, what they're looking for is academic articles, right? And when I say academic in nature, I mean that so one easy way to search for that would be IAS की books. हमारे पास जो मिलती हैं, हमारे पास जो available है IAS की website पर भी. बट वो एक कॉमन वो आता है ना, IAS की बुक्स कौन पढ़ता है, इतनी मोटी बुक्स हैं, इतने छोटे छोटे वर्ड लिखे हुए हैं, कोई पिक्चर भी नहीं है, कोई फोटो भी नहीं है, कैसे कोई पढ़ेगा? which is completely understandable, but we need to start, right? And IAS has recently launched a Jamati accessible series as well. तो वो थोड़ी simpler English में है, simple size है, डर नहीं जाना है मोटी बुक देख के. And IAS ने अपनी वेबसाइट पे e-books भी लॉन्च की हुई है, so you can access those books from e-books as well, जो कुछ अवेलेबल है एटलीस्ट वहाँ पे. Other would be, I think, articles. If you don't want to start with books, it's okay. Let's go towards articles because articles में हमें बहुत सारी range में मिलेंगे. And my suggestion would be choosing articles which relate to your interest, right? तो अगर मेरा interest, let's say, religion के अंदर है, then I would look for articles in religion. But if my interest is in, let's say, astronomy, मैं astronomical के related articles read. But let's start having those reading habits, right? And possibly that may develop then, like, by reading a newspaper every morning, and वो simple हम वहाँ से start कर सकते हैं, baby steps, and we can move on to that. But having a reading habit is very very important, and it takes time to develop because हम शायद इतने ज़्यादा fond ना हो reading के लिए. Amelia, you want to add something to that?
I would second that. I think reading habit is important. To the best of my knowledge, there is no magic book which is a direct mantra to joining either of these programs. I was, however, asked during my interview to name at least 2 fiction and 2 non-fiction books that I've recently read. So if you make it to that round, do prepare for that answer. Like generally, I think reading and academic reading is important, as Ali said, more so towards the theme of interest that you have, and especially from a diverse range of authors, not just Jamati authors or not just Muslim authors, even non-Muslim authors, to understand or to analyze anything from a multidisciplinary lens is all that they require in you as a skill. And once you are in the program, they take a responsibility कि फिर वो आपकी skill वो खुद develop करेंगे, but you at least have to take the first step in being interested to develop that skill in you.
Correct. Thank you so much. So there's there's a question which always arises regarding GPISH specifically. Is it like कि अगर मैंने GPISH degree कर ली है 3 years, and because I have such a diverse approach towards issues and understanding of literature, can I directly get a job at AKDN? Like, is there something that it's a possibility कि आपको preference दी जाएगी या आपको for sure आपका कोई bond है, आपको AKDN में job मिल जाएगी? What do you think? What's the situation like?
So it's a very important question, and the honest and hard answer to it is no. having a GPISH degree does not necessarily mean that you get into AKDN. However, two things I would want to mention. AKK, for the past few years, IIS has launched an internship program. And what basically it does is immediately after your graduation, the institute assists you in collaboration with multiple AKDN agencies to have an internship in that agency. Uh, and in most cases, once you learn about that agency, then you are better prepared to apply to AKDN. So I think ये एक unique value है जो recent graduates के लिए बहुत फायदेमंद होगी, that internship program. And that internship program is also supported and financed by IIS. So they really try that your transition into a good career is taken care of. So this is one thing that allows you to transition into AKDN. The other thing is over the years. So let's be honest. GPISH is a very बहुत niche program है, right? आते लोग भी 10-15 हैं तो मतलब अब दुनिया में कितने graduates होंगे? So AKDN wasn't really aware of it for a very long time, but more recently, since many GPISH graduates have entered into the AKDN, they are now serving at managerial positions. There is an understanding in the AKDN HR in many agencies that at least I know of. They are aware that if a GPISH graduate is applying, he or she brings an additional value. So that while that may add to your perspective or their understanding of your application, but by no means is it a direct entry into an AKDN. You still have to apply like any other applicant.
That's fine. That's great. Um, Again, there have been reoccurring questions regarding IELTS. So everyone, it's to put it out right. When I applied, it was I had to apply. I had to appear for UKVI IELTS. However, this particular time, because of the pandemic and because of the situation around the world, things have changed slightly. So I think the best option is going to be that you approach IIS website, and then you can see the contact person and you can direct your questions over there regarding your application, IELTS, TOEFL, whichever preliminary tests you want to appear for or you can apply for. So I think they can take care of your case. Now moving to something which is usually ignored or has not been discussed during this session. What has your experience been like in London? How much of the life in London is as important to GPISH or STEP as getting a master's degree from there? Who would like to go first? Ali, would you like to go first?
I'm okay with either, but I can start. I don't think that a step London में नहीं होता और कहीं और होता तो कितना step या कितना GPISH होता, because the experience which we are sharing right now is obviously it's not just the institution but where it's placed as well, the context of that institution as well. And London is a very multicultural city, and it gives you exposure to all. Like if अगर मैं ट्यूब में बैठा होता तो मैं ट्यूब वाज अ जनरल वे ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्ट जो हम यूज करते थे अंडरग्राउंड ट्यूब्स. अगर मैं बैठा होता था और मैं बैठ तो आप डिफरेंट नेशनैलिटीज के डिफरेंट रिलीजन्स के लोग आपको वहां पर मिलेंगे. सो देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी व्हिच इज एग्जिस्टेंट ऑलरेडी देयर, राइट? एंड यू आर फोर्स्ड टू इंटरैक्ट विद इट. हाउ यू इंटरैक्ट विद इट इज डिफरेंट, but you are forced to interact with that. Other than that, the new building, and I would urge everyone to Jesse webinar offer, please just go and write Aga Khan Center on Google Images and just see the beautiful building which you would all be studying. Either you apply for GPISH, either you apply for IIS or even ISMC. That is the building where you would be learning for those two of more than 2 years. That is a beautiful building जो recently construction complete हुई थी. And then there's the living quarters, right? So we live in what's it called, Victoria Halls, जो कि बिल्कुल IIS की building से कुछ 3-3.5 मिनट की वॉक पे है. द प्रीवियस बिल्डिंग वाज लाइक ए 30 minutes वॉक. ये वाली जो है ये 2.5-3 मिनट की वॉक पे है, इतनी ज़्यादा दूर नहीं है. एंड इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल स्पेस टू लिव इन, राइट? यू गेट योर ओन रूम्स, and like every room has, and I can go for hours and Michelle would stop me to narrating those cluster stories. So each apart, like there are collection of 5 to 6 rooms on each floor and you share a kitchen. So the kitchen is shared but you get individual rooms. And why am I emphasizing it? Because London में property rates are extremely high, right? So living वो इतना जो space आपको मिला हुआ है, that is very generous, right? Because अगर आप normal rent करने जाओ ना घर तो it is extremely expensive. So again, the living space is beautiful, as is the space where you are studying, right? And then there are other facilities as well. You have a whole hall downstairs जहाँ पे club सारे participants मिल सकते हैं from different programs. So like me and Michelle were together since she was GPISH and I was STEP, right? But we were there living together. So I think ये एक बहुत ही enriching experience होता है. Other than that, the living experience is also just one more thing to add, that you get a stipend as well for both GPISH and STEP, and you can use that stipend to travel outside London. So you can travel. हम बहुत सारे हमारे बच्चे यूरोप जाते हैं, काफी सारे बच्चे इजिप्ट जाते हैं, बहुत सारे out of that Tajikistan and other locations as well. So the living experience is, I would call it, and I would generally call it, जो भी मुझसे पूछता है, it's an extended camp, right, for me. It's like आपके पास कोई टेंशन नहीं है, आपको पढ़ना है, you're getting paid to get study and have that best of those experiences. So yeah, sorry Michelle, I took that long. मैंने बहुत सारी
No,
चीजें
no.
डाल दी, but that's a very close
I
दिल के
think
करीब ये question.
Ali has given a very detailed understanding to how we are living over there. And just to correct you, IS right now is 3.5 minutes walk. It was before that, it was 30 minutes or 40 minutes walk. And I think Amir Ali would tell us how far was the hall before we came in there.
Yes, Ali and Mishal can brag because they were beneficiaries of the new building, and I'm extremely jealous. But generally, I think broadly, जो London का experience होता है, that is unprecedented. And the reason I say this is because it allows you to engage in this intellectual simulation. मतलब अगर आपके walking distance पे British Library हो, you can easily go to the Victoria and Albert Museum. आपके पास universities central London में walking distance पे हो, you can attend seminars, webinars, conferences, anything. That just gives you a unique perspective into that intellectual space that London provides you. And then, of course, as Ali mentioned, the diversity in the tube, in your classes, in your living quarters, everywhere. Matlab, in my living quarter, we had 6 people, all coming from different nationalities. To put it very simply, एक omelette को बनाने के 10 different तरीके कोई सीख सकता है, तो वो मैंने वो 2 साल में सीखे हैं. But so the thing that I'm trying to say is that you get a new perspective to everything. And why this is important is because everything that you do there, in my opinion, especially for a GPISH grad, prepares you for a career, because you are then able to see beyond your confines of what you thought was normal. You are able to appreciate others. You're able to work in a team, a diverse team. You're able to work in a competitive environment. You're able to look beyond what was traditional. So all of these things, your ability to critique, your ability to reflect, that prepares you for a good career. The entire London experience, not just the classroom, but even beyond the classroom.
I see. Yeah, that's so true. I miss London. I miss GPISH right now. So, what kind of recommendation letters are required for GPISH and STEP? Ali, I would like you to go first regarding this. Going back to a serious question.
Yeah. So there are 4 types of recommendation letters जो हमें चाहिए होते हैं. The first is academic. So anyone from your university can write that for you. The second is academic or professional. So if you are working, आप अपने किसी ऑफिस के employer या boss से आप अपना ले सकते हैं, या फिर आप वापस academic के university से ले सकते हैं. अगर if you're not working, तो that's optional, like option between the two. The third is a national ITRAP reference, which is generally given by regional ITRAP. So that is that. And the fourth one is a character reference, which is given by your local Mukhi Sahib or local council, right? So there are 4 types of different references that are needed.
Okay. And for GPISH, it's exactly the same, correct? Just that I think for GPISH, you need 3 reference letters, and for STEP, it's a little different, like 4 recommendation letters. There's a question. I think this is going to be very subjective in terms of how you look at your journey. But Ali and Amir Ali, what do you think after STEP, after GPISH? How have you changed as a person? How did GPISH or STEP added value to the change or the kind of person you have become today, or the way you perceive the world today? So if you would just like to enlighten me about that. Amir Ali, I think you will go first.
Achha, I'll go first. So as I said earlier, it's a life-changing experience at the personal level, at least for me. But I would like to restrict this answer to a very career perspective, and try to respond it in a way कि क्या होता if I wouldn't have done JPISH, or what value did it add in my career. I think it just opens the door for you to be able to study a context from diverse perspectives. It changed me because growing up in Pakistan, we have a certain mindset of what things are. Certain things which we drew are binary, yes yeah no. So first, it challenged you to think of the gray area, which perhaps is in majority of cases it's always a gray area. Second, it allowed me to be able to critique a scenario rather than simply accepting it as is. And that can go from academics, like even critiquing big scholars and being okay with it, because even they can say something wrong if you have enough literature to back it up. So that skill of being able to critique something, that is helping me a lot in my career. It has changed the person I am. And the third important thing, which perhaps is more important, is किसी सामने वाले को critique करना शायद आसान हो, to be able to critique the self or to reflect. That is a skill that GPISH definitely builds in you. At every point in time, you are forced to reflect what would you do, or how would you respond to the situation, or would you be doing something different. And from a career perspective, that is so important, especially as you progress and move to a managerial role, because then you have to empathize with the other. You have to think of the people who are reporting to you and make well informed value based decisions. And while JPISH की किसी भी क्लास का ये टॉपिक नहीं था कि लेट्स लर्न वैल्यू इन्फॉर्म्ड डिसीजन मेकिंग या पे लेट्स लर्न रिफ्लेक्शन, आई थिंक दीज आर द हिडन थिंग्स दैट I personally learned from my experiences, and that really prepared me from a career-based perspective. And apart from that, experiences that we were saying earlier, we can speak hours and hours about the experience. But from a career perspective, I think these three skills were definitely an add-on in my career.
Ali.
Yeah. So I would echo everything which Amelie was saying. For me as well, it has been a life-changing experience in so many different ways, and not just for, I'm using this term not in the sense of using that term, but actually meaning each word, each phrase in that. Um, I think STEP allowed me at least कि हम वो मैं जहाँ पे होता था हम वो blinders के साथ दुनिया को देख रहे होते थे, हम अपनी shell के अंदर और वहीं पे हम देख रहे होते थे. But STEP actually allowed me to widen those horizons, और किस तरह से हम लोग different perspectives को and again these are not just buzzwords, we actually learned how to do that. किस तरह से प्लूरलिज्म पे बात करना तो बहुत आसान है, लेकिन अगर मैं 25 डिफरेंट लोगों के साथ बिलोंगिंग टू 12 डिफरेंट नेशनैलिटीज रह रहा हूँ और उनके अपने वैल्यू सिस्टम्स हैं, उनके अपने कल्चरल नॉर्म्स हैं, एंड दैट बिकम्स अ चैलेंज, एंड यू दैट इज व्हाई प्लूरलिज्म इज अ डिफिकल्ट थिंग टू प्रैक्टिस, राइट? सो वो जो बज़वर्ड्स हम जनरली यूज करते हैं, टॉलरेंस, प्लूरलिज्म, वर्ल्ड व्यूज, पर्सपेक्टिव्स, I think we actually live that out, right? And you have to appreciate both the opportunities and the challenges offered by those. So I think एक उस तरह से मुझे help किया. अगर मैं step नहीं करता तो मैं क्या होता, तो I think like my friends who did mechanical engineering, mashallah, they're very successful mechanical engineers working in firms. However, I feel that when I teach an RE class and when I step out of that RE class, the satisfaction that I get is much more valuable to me. And I think वो words में शायद बयान करना मुश्किल होगा मेरा और मेरा it's like मेरा रिश्ता teaching के साथ. But that is extremely important. And third is the view of being a global citizen. So because you're placed in a space which itself, like London itself, is very multicultural, very global in nature, and आप जिस audience के साथ interact करो, that's also very global, and that doesn't end there. वो आपके relationships सारे continue होते हैं, and the process of learning opportunities जो हम discuss कर रहे थे. So you actually are not, आप अपनी shell में शायद नहीं रहते हो, you become a global citizen, and but with the nuance to operate in a local setting as well. So I think वो जो balancing act है, I think that is also very interesting. So yeah, that would be some of the things जो I would like to get out.
Thank you so much, Ali, and thank you so much, Amir Ali. Given that we're about to end our session, thank you so much for your time, and I think the kind of feedback feedback and the kind of answers you have given has really must have helped clarify a lot of questions and queries that we must have had. Again, one recommendation for whoever is applying for GPISH or STEP or is considering this as a career pathway, go on II's website, read the prospectus for STEP and for GPISH page to page, so that you have a clear understanding of what the program is like, what are you studying, what are the modules, who is the faculty, for how long is which duration of the module, etc. All the details are available in the prospectus, and it is very nicely written and explained. And for any other further questions, you can approach the IIS website for your answers regarding application process. With that, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And with that, I would like to end our session. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Amir Ali. And thanks to our Khan Education Board for organizing this session. Thank you so much. And just one thing, that if you have any questions regarding STEP, you can email @gmail.com. Okay. Thank you so much. And for GPISH, you can visit the website. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.